Hey everyone, my name is Courtney. Wait till you see today's Christmas DIYs. Let's get crafting. This first DIY is an Anthropologie dupe for this $128 bow garland. To make this, I picked up these pre-made bows from Hobby Lobby. They were half off, which means all of these bows cost me $18. Now, you definitely could do it cheaper, probably less than $10 if you're willing to pick up a yard of fabric and make your own bows. I really like the texture of these, and they're very sturdy and full, and so this is what I went with. I started by taking them off the backers. I wanted to keep the little ties on there just in case I decide to break this down at a later time. So I just kind of squished them up in the back so that if I do decide to take this garland apart, I can do that. To get these attached, it was very simple. I used a needle threader to help me get my embroidery floss into my needle. I used all of the strands. I tied one end of it, making sure to leave a little bit of a tail. Then taking two bows, I started in the left corner of one. I went down about 1/4 of an inch and then just poked it into the bow in about the same spot. Then I pulled it back through, just putting a stitch right next to that one. And then when I pulled it all the way through, I simply just double knotted the embroidery floss and then trimmed off the extra pieces. And that's how I tacked the bows together. I didn't use hot glue just because, like I said, in case I decide to take this apart, I want to be able to do that very easily. And I continued doing this until I attached all the bows together, just simply tacking it at those top corners of the bow. And then to get it hung up, I knew I needed to add some type of loop to the ends of this. So to do that, I just took some embroidery floss and I made a loop and then tied it off so that each end of this garland had something that I could hang it by, and then this was finished. The next dupe is a Pottery Barn dupe, these elf napkin rings for $29.50. I'm going to make them for a little less than $3. For this, you will need some green felt, yellow felt, black ribbon, and some fluffy yarn. I started by taking my pieces of green felt and I cut 4 pieces. They were 6 inches long by 2 inches wide. Once I got all of those cut, I grabbed my yellow felt and cut 4 small yellow squares. With the yellow squares cut, I grabbed some tiny sharp scissors, and what you need to do is cut 2 slits into each of the yellow squares, and you want to put them kind of close to the edges so that you'll be able to feed your black ribbon into the yellow square so that it makes a buckle. So I did that on all 4 pieces of the yellow felt. Now, before we start assembling these together, I started by gluing my green felt napkin rings and closing them off. So I put a strip of hot glue on one end and just brought the other piece around and tacked it that way. I did that for all 4 rounds. Once that was done, I had a couple of different types, I should say, of fluffy yarn, and I ended up going with this really fluffy one and decided to use that for the top and the bottom of the napkin rings. So all I did to get it attached was put a thin bead of hot glue towards the top and bottom of the napkin ring. And then as I applied the yarn, I kind of put it halfway on the napkin ring and halfway sticking up off of it, if that makes sense. And I just smushed it as I went. And when I got around to the back side of it, I just trimmed it and then tacked the end down with a little bit of hot glue so it wouldn't fray. So on each napkin ring, they got some yarn on the top and the bottom just being tacked on with hot glue. The belts were then tacked on. I just put a little hot glue on the yellow portion of the belt, wrapped it around very loosely and tacked it on the back, and then these napkin rings were ready. The next dupe is this embroidered sweatshirt I found on Etsy. They range from about $30 to $80, and I made mine for about $11. I started with a sweatshirt that I picked up on Amazon. Everything from today's video will be linked down below in the description box. And of course, I'm using some of that stabilizer, this water-soluble kind that I used for the peppermint beanie that I embroidered. And all I did was create a design in Canva, and then I printed it directly onto my water-soluble stabilizer. This has a sticky back, so all you have to do is peel the back off, stick it onto your piece of clothing, and then you're ready to stitch. So I got it attached, grabbed an embroidery hoop, grabbed all my embroidery floss, and I'm doing 2 different stitches for this sweatshirt. For the word Mary and the light cord, I'm using a dark green thread, and I will be doing a split back stitch. So I knotted the end of my thread, and to do this stitch, you're going to start at the end, you'll come up, you'll do 1 stitch length and go down. Then, just like you would for a back stitch, you go 1 stitch length away, you pull up, but to make this a split back stitch, what you will do, instead of going down in that hole that you just finished, you're going to go down in the middle of the previous stitch. So you're going to split those embroidery threads with your needle. So you'll go straight down in there. And then again, you'll pull up a stitch away, and then you'll go down and split the previous stitch right down the middle. And you continue to do that where it curves. To help it keep that curved shape, what you want to do is simply make smaller stitches. That makes your curves a little bit better and easier to manage. So I do this for, again, the light cord along with the word Mary. When you're done stitching, all you have to do is I just knot it on the back. Then I take that thread and I kind of pull it through those stitches on the back to get it secure and trim the extra thread. Now for the light bulbs, please bear with me. I was not in camera while I was stitching this one, but it's super easy. All you do for satin stitches is you come up, you go down, the next stitch, you just come up right next to it, go down, and you just fill the space. It's very, very simple. And that's what I did. I tried to do a light bulb shape. I clearly need to work on my satin stitches a little bit, but I just made the stitches longer towards the middle of the light bulb and then brought them in towards the top and the bottom of each light bulb. The last step is just to get the stabilizer off. All you have to do is run some cold water and then gently just rub at it, and it will disintegrate away. Then let your item dry and it is ready to be worn. This next one is a dupe of a Books red ornament selling for $54.99 on Etsy, and I made mine for a little over $4. So to start, what you want to do is I went into Goodreads and I pulled the covers of my books. I just saved them as a download and put them into a Canva document. From there, I figured out the size I needed them to be based on these little mini dollhouse books that I bought on Amazon. I will link them down below. And then I just copied and pasted the covers onto that little rectangle square so that I knew it would fit my books. Once that was done, I printed those off on a sheet of just plain shipping, full page shipping label to make it easier and not have to deal with Mod Podge and all the other extra stuff. So I can just stick these onto these tiny little books that I got. These are the labels that I purchased. And from there, it was just a matter of trimming down my books. So I did that on my paper cutter. Once those were trimmed down, then all I had to do was peel off the back and stick them directly onto my mini books. With my books ready, I grabbed one of these refillable ornaments that I bought in a pack from Amazon. These are the 3-inch ones, and they came in at less than $1 each for the ornaments. stuck all of the books inside, made sure it was lined up, and then I did create a decal on my CRICUT that just says 2024 and stuck that on there. But you could also just easily print a tag as well if you don't have a CRICUT or don't want to put stickers on this. You could also add fairy lights to this to the inside if you would like as well. Once that was on there, I decided for the tie to just take a piece of twine and I fed that through. And then to finish it off, I just added a little bit of greenery. I broke it down and hot glued it directly to my ornament and then finished it off with a little bow. Now, if you're continuing to read, obviously you're going to want to make sure that you can open this up easily and keep adding books to it if you're going to make it before the end of the year. But you definitely could make one that says 2025, and as you read a book, just keep up with it, and then when the time comes, you can easily print it and make one for next year. For this dupe, I had to try to find something sort of comparable. So this one is $25 on Etsy. Mine I made for less than $3. Here's another block DIY. I've got two different blocks. They're cut to two different sizes. The shorter one is about 3¼ inches tall. The taller one is about 5 inches. The smaller one I am painting a lighter brown, and the taller block is gonna get painted with a darker brown. Time to add details to the reindeer, so I grabbed my black paint marker and made eyes. On the smaller one, I added some eyelashes. Both of the reindeer got noses, which were going to be red. Then taking a white paint marker, I wanted to add some highlight, so I put white dots in the eyes along with a little curve and a dot on the nose. For the cheeks, I just used my pinky and some red acrylic paint and just lightly dabbed that on to the cheek area with that red paint. Taking some red checkered ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby and a red bell, I cut a piece of the ribbon down, fed a bell onto it, and then just hot glued that towards the bottom of each of the reindeer. For the girl reindeer, I also grabbed some raffia, tied it into a bow, and then hot glued it to the top left corner of the wooden block. For the antlers, I grabbed my awl tool. You guys know I love it. You can also grab a drill if you want to as well. I didn't really find that the drill was necessary, but I did start with the drill and then I just used the awl for the rest of the holes. I poked 2 holes at the top of each of these reindeer. Then using some Dollar Tree wintry branches, I cut them down to pieces that I felt like look like antlers. So for the girl reindeer, I just left them plain and I just cut them down and stuck them into the holes. For the boy reindeer, I again put 2 holes at the top, cut down the brown wintry, I don't know what it's called. It's not greenery because it's not green, but you know what I mean. And then I also added some mini little jingle bells. These actually came off a fairy light set from Dollar Tree that had these little bells on it. And all I did was just hang them on different spots of the branches. And then these 2 little reindeer were ready for the holiday season. That will wrap up today's projects. Let me know down below which one of these was your favorite. Also, you guys shared some really awesome traditions with me last week. I loved reading those. Let me know this. Do you prefer to use wrapping paper or gift bags when it comes to getting all your gifts ready for the holidays? Let me know down below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. Here are some more videos you might want to check out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!